I'd like to begin by asking the following question. Does the existence of God matter? If you answer the question yes, as most people will, please list the reasons why you think that the existence of God matters. I invite you to pause the video at the next slide and answer the question before proceeding to see what I have to say. Conservative adherents of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are given a claim that the ills of society are the result of incorrect religious belief or inadequate religious adherence. In everyday language, the ills of society are due to deficient spirituality. So the fundamental solution is to foster correct religious belief and adequate religious adherence. Is this correct? Let's evaluate this in light of the developments to this point in our video series. Thus far we've seen that ethical values do not come from divine revelation, but from reason applied to experience. We've also seen that the idea of dichotomous afterlife in Western religion is irrational and hence false. As a result, the existence of God is irrelevant to ethical values, and the existence of God is irrelevant to afterlife, as it is conceived in Western religion. By the way, please keep in mind that, as I said in the first video, my book is filled with painstaking analysis of all of the issues, and in these short videos I can present only highlights. So if you feel that in these videos I haven't presented sufficient detail to satisfy you, then please see my book. Okay, so we don't need the existence of God to obtain ethical values, and we don't need the existence of God to avoid getting sent to hell when we die. So the question arises, what do we need the existence of God for? Let's rephrase the question. What difference does it make whether or not God exists? You may say that God can help you personally in your life, that He can help people at large in the activity of civilization. The analysis that I present in my book does allow for this possibility. That is, I show that it is a rational concept for God to be active in the world, though any particular idea that someone may have as to what God is doing might be irrational. Put differently, just because it is rational for God to be active in the world doesn't mean that every idea about what God is doing is rational. To return to our question, we're asking what difference it makes whether or not God exists, and one difference that we've identified is that He could help people in living their lives. You may also say that you love to worship God and feel His closeness, and again, the analysis that I present in my book allows for this possibility. That is, such a concept is rational, though not every realization of the idea is necessarily rational. You may in addition say that we need the existence of God in order to have afterlife, even if afterlife is not dichotomous, as it is conceived to be in Western religion. In my book I show that we don't actually need God for afterlife. More specifically, I carefully analyze what it means for God to exist and what the implications of that assumption are. And I show that the existence of God is not needed for there to be afterlife. I can't say much more here because the topic is highly technical. So let's turn from the existence of God to the general topic of religious claims. Do religious claims matter? In order to avoid religious conflict, many people say that when it comes to religion, each person discovers their own truth. Each religion is true for its adherents. But conservative adherents of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam will respond that this is absurd. They will say that truth isn't arbitrary and that their religion has the truth, and that it's important to understand the truth as given in their religion. So I invite you to pause on the next slide and explain if religious claims matter or not, and why. We are now in a position to clarify this controversy. The first observation to make is that it is indeed absurd to claim that truth is arbitrary, and that each religion is true for its adherents. If two religions contradict each other on some point, they can't both be correct on that point. At least one of the religions is incorrect, and they both might be incorrect. The second observation to make is that in light of the earlier video on afterlife, the idea of dichotomous afterlife is irrational and hence false. This in turn implies that the traditional Judaism, Christianity, and Islam are all incorrect on this particular point. As a result, the great threat of traditional Western religion vanishes. People don't have to worry about ending up in hell when they die. In other words, the traditional Western religions are indeed correct in asserting that truth is not arbitrary, but they are incorrect in their claim that the idea of dichotomous afterlife is true. Similarly, as we saw in earlier videos, these three religions are also incorrect in their claim that religion is necessary for correct ethical values, and that, more specifically, one particular religion is necessary for correct ethical values. Such a claim follows from the idea that a religion is based on divine revelation of ethical values. But we've already seen that ethical values come from reason applied to experience. They don't come from divine revelation. So do religious claims matter? Religious claims matter to the extent that they help us live better lives. In light of the video on the meaning of life, we can say that religious claims matter to the extent that they help us to better realize the meaning trade-off. In Part 2, we'll turn to the topic of religious experience.